I'll show you how it's done. Shazam!
Doing a good thing now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Underdeveloped, and today we are covering Elvis, starring that dude that used to be in those. Used to be an extra in this declassified school survival guide.
Did you say he was Zoe's boyfriend from Zoe 101?
Yeah, and then next thing you know, he's in Elvis, and he's like probably gonna be a star now.
So this is his first like leading role then.
Yeah, leading role in like a big studio, movie.
Yeah, like this big movie. Like he's acting opposite Tom Hanks for a good chunk of it.
Yeah, he is. I mean,
yeah, that's a big deal.
He is acting Tom Hanks is literally his co-star.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is his supporting actor.
But probably got paid triple the money though.
Oh, of course he did. It's Tom Hanks. Of course he did.
I mean, technically Tom Hanks was the lead and narrator.
I mean, he kind of was in a sense. Like the thing is, like this movie shifts a lot between perspectives. I feel like half the movie is like his perspective, and half the movie is like Elvis's perspective.
But
and like
it's mainly
weird.
But it's his voiceover though.
Yeah, it's
so
his
really
voiceover, but the voiceover is very inconsistent. Like it appears very heavily early on, then you go large chunks of barely hearing it, and then it appears back a lot at the end.
Yeah, and then Elvis does have like his big moments in the
like he has moments that don't involve Tom Hanks at all. That Tom Hanks probably wouldn't really know that much about. Like this movie has a lot of characters in it. Like it's hard to remember every single one, especially since it's been like a day or two. So
yeah,
we're gonna forget couple things.
And only performances that's notable is Elvis's.
Honestly, yeah, he is 100% the best part of this movie.
Yeah, which is fine because it's Elvis' movie, so you want him to be the best part of this movie.
Yeah,
but thing is with Bohemian Rhapsody, they had a bunch of like decent characters. Well, it was about a band, so.
True, it is a little different.
So my consensus about this movie, when I first stepped into this movie, I expected to cringe super hard. And in the beginning, it was very cringe heavy.
Oh God,
when we see Elvis, but he walks into the church, they're singing all the tent and they're singing gospel, and he's just like young Elvis is just like transported, and he's like almost looking like he's being possessed by a demon, taking over his soul, whatever else. But anyways, yeah. So Baz Luhrmann is like a very specific director. He's very stylistic. And he carried a lot of his Baz Luhrmannisms in this movie. I don't know if you saw Great Gatsby. It's very grandiose, large scale, very golden. Yeah. He plays modern music in these period pieces, which
we don't really like that. But
yeah, I hated that in the movie. Like, I mean, it's about
it
Elvis.
Really takes you out.
50s, 60s. Yeah, it's like, and it's not even like modern music. It sounds similar, straight up like almost like rap, pretty much. Austin Butler had some very powerful scenes, especially when he was like firing Tom Parker on stage. Where he said, "You're fired!" I'm like, whoa. And then he has some real good scenes, like personal scenes, like when he's in a hotel, in the room. He had that conversation with his pops. I mean, he just has some really good emotional scenes, and he has the Elvis lingo down. Elvis.
He actually made it sound natural. I've never heard someone to make the Elvis voice sounded natural, like an actual conversation before.
Yeah, because he's actually talking like one instead of trying to talk like one. He's just being it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the difference.
He's not exaggerating it. He's just doing it. And the outfits he had on too was fuego. I mean, Elvis had style. So he
did. And they did a good job of capturing that.
Yeah, the dude had the nice, like he had these different pieces that fit well. Like he had like rings and watches that fit together with his old school black leather outfit. Like my favorite one was the black leather outfit when he was like sitting in the old Hollywood billboard with the shades. I mean, everything was coiffed. Like he looked fly. Like he looked like a white boy with some swag. You know what I mean?
Like really, I feel like this movie has a lot of upside, mostly coming from its lead, but I feel like one thing that seriously just kills this movie dead and strikes me is just the pacing. Like, it doesn't feel like there's, like, a focus or any sort of rhyme or reason why things happen. We just kind of transition from this thing happened to this thing happened to this thing
fast forward through major events in his life.
It's like if you're reading, it's like when you're, like, reading a book or a script or something and there's a fight scene written on the page. Instead of, like, a writer who intricately writes one sentence woven into the next to make the fight scene seem natural, sometimes a less experienced writer would write, oh, this person does this thing. This person does that thing. This person does this. This person goes here. Now he jumps up. It's just a line of him doing this, that person doing that, this person doing that. Like, it's not a satisfying thing to flow from one to the other. It just feels like you're reading off a list, and that's what this felt like. Like they had a checklist of all the events in Elvis's life, and they just read right through it without really trying to weave it in. You know.
I mean, like I've seen films like. I get what you're saying, and that would make a good movie in usual times. But I feel a movie like this, with such a guy with so much things that happen in his life, I think it's fine. I think they focus in on each. I think they focus in on each moment of his life enough to make me like care for the character, and also going to previous knowledge of who Elvis is, that we know who he is, kind of helps his case too. I mean, to be fair, biopics, especially about artists, they tend to adapt that kind of non-linear kind of storytelling.
Well, I mean, it's linear, but it just.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it is, but I mean, it's like it's not like one after the other. It's like just they're just kind of going into different events in his life. Mm-hmm. You know,
yeah,
and it is kind of like that. Like they kind of go back to, but overall,
it's like a little on.
It's a forward narrative. Like it's not like the typical story structure. Kind of goes from one thing to another. But as I said, there's many like the James Brown movie Get On Up was kind of like that too. And it would have a specific focus, but overall, it had a progression. You know what I mean?
Like,
and I saw that progression.
Like if anything, like the only real movie about like a musician I could think of from my head that I've seen is Rocket Man. So that's probably the movie I'm comparing this the most to.
That's the one I actually haven't seen.
Well, that one goes for something very different, where it is mostly like that one does go back and forth a lot, also, but it feels a lot more focused because it is very much focused on Elton John's struggles and how they eventually led him to just becoming a junkie, and like it's all connected at the core, so it feels a lot more satisfying. Even though that movie also does things I don't like.
Truth of the matter is, like, Elvis was black, he probably wouldn't have been as big as he was. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I think they kind of made that point in the movie itself, where like he's big because he's white,
which I did appreciate that because they kind of because a lot of other biopics do it doesn't just kind of shelves that truth, kind of sweeps under the rug, but this one's like, no, he credits a lot of his success to black people. Like, he got his own style from black people. Like.
Yeah, like even his first big song in the movie, it was when he directly like he covered from a black artist he heard in his childhood.
Yeah, this movie was pretty much like a way, like just like saying that Elvis was down with the cause. You know, like Elvis was woke. Elvis tribute success to black people. It's to make him like kind of good with black people, and that from that perspective, it kind of makes you cringe a little bit. Because that's kind of how at least it was marketed in the whole trailer was like that's exactly how that's exactly how I thought it was going to be watching the trailer. How I was coming in cringing really hard.
Yeah, but the way it was handled throughout most of the movie wasn't bad though.
Yeah, but once you got into the meat and bones of the movies and you started seeing like the deterioration of all the drugs and all this lifestyle got to him, and then how he wants to perform the music he likes and how he wants to tour, but this fucking dickhead manager is just being manipulative bitch and keeping him down and keeping him performing in Las Vegas because you know it helps him pay off his debts. You know, I mean that got interesting to me. I'm like, okay, dealing with this asshole. That's how we feel about this movie. We feel Tom Parker, Elvis, Austin Butler did a great job. The narrative, I mean, I felt they did the best they could do with that kind of storytelling. Because I've seen it present in other biopic films, especially regarding music artists. So I get that kind of storytelling, and it worked because at least they had enough. They focused enough to kind of make me like hold on to the plot lines and really get engrossed into the story. So they did it. So they did enough. You know, they did enough for me. But I get your perspective. Like you rather like that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I'd rather have something a little more focused personally.
But his life is so big. You know what I mean? To try to encompass like pretty much his whole arc.
Honestly,
it just wouldn't.
I feel like one simple change could have absolutely given me enough to work with here.
What?
Just quit it with the fucking VO from the Colonel. Cut it with him being like this as important a character as he is. Just really focus on Elvis. Just really dedicate to him being your main character, and that would have actually solved a lot to me. Because I feel like fucking the Colonel just saying things as they happen. Like it really makes you feel like that the movie's telling me things instead of showing me things sometimes, and that just kind of takes me out of certain scenes, especially early on. It is a movie that does get better as it goes along. I will say that. Definitely.
His story, like I'm like, shut up.
Actually, that's not a horrible impression. That's a pretty decent impression of him.
Overall, I guess movie like a 76.
Yeah.
It's pretty much on par with what they gave him on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I think
A little lower.
I would give it a little lower. I'm thinking maybe just flat 70. Like,
That's fair too. But yeah, so that's our review. And if you like this movie, give it a tell us what you think down below.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. If you like or dislike, and overall, stay tuned for more content.
I have a whole bunch coming more at you, folks. Peace out.
Peace, y'all. Later.